Are you ready? Jeez.
Ready.
It's taking forever, dude.
All right.
Fuck.
Hold it. Shh.
Holding.
Welcome, Blazin Nation, to the Contact Buzz. We call this one Dabbing on the Zodiac. This is the show for canna connoisseurs, budding entrepreneurs, Kush bunnies, and anyone else living that green party lifestyle. This show is for adults only, so if you're 21 or over, check your ID with the bouncer at the door and come on in. Coming up in today's show, California is pissing off the feds.
Yikes.
We expose the dangers of dabbing.
Hey.
We clear the air on black marijuana. And we talk about some hot sauce that's in some hot water.
Picante.
All that and more coming up, so stick around to toast your tannins and catch the Contact Buzz. Now, a man that needs no introduction, but is getting one anyways. The king of detecting mold in your green, my man, G.
Hello. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mr. G, and we're bringing you the best information, news, and stories from around the globe. We are your cannabis lifestyle source channel. Now, we always record live from a secret underground bunker located
super duper
somewhere in Southern California, the Green Rush capital of the world. That's right. You can find us at thecontactbuzz.com. Also, take a look at our social media platforms, Facebook and the interwebs like Instagram and Snapchat and all that other good stuff. You'll find all our latest and greatest videos and uploads and memes for your viewing pleasure. All right, let's get started, RJ.
I think the first order of business.
The first order of business is the question of the week.
Oh, I didn't know there was going to be a test. I would have warned everybody if I had known there was going to be a test.
I want to see how long I can do it. All right.
Way to kick off our first ever show. We've already got.
We
the
have
crickets.
a really good other topic. Our first story, I think, is quite good.
Yeah, it's going to be killer.
I think you're gonna like it. A lot of people, they debate about that, and it goes here and back and forth. But before we get into that, the question...
You can't just leave people hanging. At least tell them what that story is.
It's a debate about indica and sativa and trying to determine or describe what the high you're going to get is going to be by labeling it indica or sativa, which is... We'll get into it in a second.
All right. So
my brain is focused on the question of the week.
Okay. What is the question
of the week? All right. Now, if you RJ, could smoke or dab or edible,
sure,
whatever, ingest, uptake,
right?
With anybody. Okay. Now I'm talking about anybody.
I'm with you so far.
Human history.
Do I need to be
dead or alive?
Talking so slow. Do I need to take notes on this?
Yes. Well, no. It might be sort of a deep question for you.
Sure.
Anybody in human history, dead or alive,
right?
Who would you smoke with?
All right. Definitely alive. Hopefully for a long time more here. But my man Elon Musk. Ooh, right. Ooh. There's a few things that I would like to pick his brain on.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Things like his
battery technology, some jetpacks.
No, I was thinking more like hyperloops, taking that into the space race, different things along those lines. I want to see if we're going to get any orbital platforms within my lifetime. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of technologies that we have available at our disposal right now that could take us to the stars.
He wants to jet us around, literally.
No, I'm serious.
Jet us around.
I'm serious.
Can you imagine 30 minutes to get to Europe?
It's not quite like that, but imagine if you hopped on a track somewhere in the middle of the continental United States, say Kansas, right? And you hopped on one of those Elon Musk long tubes, and you look off and you just see it disappear into the horizon, right? But over in New York somewhere, there's a huge tower that goes up to basically the stratosphere, and this thing just launches you into orbit.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Right?
I'm with you. I think it's awesome.
That's possible with that type of technology. I know there's a lot of naysayers out there with the.
What do you think? Are we
going
to be like 85 when that happens?
Maybe, but then
no, I want it to be sooner.
We can also get into the
older
fact
than
that
you.
by the time we hit into 80s in that type of thing, the life expectancy technologies may also have developed to a.
I'll go
really
into a little
insane
machine and
level.
it'll revitalize me. And I'll be like, I'm back to 45.
All right. How about you? Who's your dead or alive?
Dead or alive? Dead or alive? Well, I was thinking about it. At first, we were talking about it too. Benjamin Franklin, he was like a player, smart, super smart guy. One of the, he was in the group of our forefathers that, just kick-ass all-around dude.
Sure.
Was interesting. I thought would be interesting to talk to, just to get his perspective from a few hundred years ago to now. What he thinks of things.
One of the interesting things about somebody from historical perspective like that is, I'm assuming you wouldn't bring Benjamin Franklin here. Like, you would step back to his time so you could see him in his element.
Be like, hey, check out this vape. This is what's coming out. In
right,
2 years.
but then just to
He's
really
that's fucking
see
it.
how people lived and experienced that whole, you got a little bit of time travel as a bonus.
Right, and then then we were talking, like I was thinking Tesla would be super sweet to talk to, and then
but
maybe it just might blow my mind.
Sure, but Edison would have stolen your weed before you got there.
That's a tough one, man. That hurts. I don't know. Tesla, some of if you hear or if you've read his last interview, he talks about distractions and things that he kind of had to get away from so that he could focus his mental energy into thinking and receiving these answers to his questions and that kind of thing. So pretty deep stuff. So I would say I'd probably go with Tesla.
All right, Tesla. So you guys out there watching this or listening to it on the podcast, make sure you tweet us your answers. Who would you like to smoke with, blaze with, burn with, dab with, whoever, dead or alive? It's at the Contact Buzz on all the social platforms and Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and all that good stuff. So tweet it to us. Tweet it. And next show, maybe we'll feature your answer. I think we should get into that whole indica versus sativa. All
right. That's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, okay, I think so. I pulled up the web page here, taking a look at the story that we've got linked up there.
So I think it's interesting that. Since probably before the 60s, I guess, when people were trying to come up with a way to describe to a potential customer, like, hey, this is this or this is that, and here's some examples, and what do you call it? Oh, okay, well, it's blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I think that was all really kind of based on maybe like the scientific name of the plant, but it also is more describing the characteristics of the plant. Like if it's a sativa, it's a taller, more lanky plant with maybe smaller leaves versus like an indica, which is going to be a short, squatty plant that's going to have these fat, wider leaves.
Right.
So,
well, that's one of the things the story covers is. It's a term. It's a classification that's as old as pot itself. You know what I mean? It was the visual distinction, I think, between the two plants, and then from there they noticed certain characteristics, and they just kind of gotten associated with it. But what the story kind of goes into that we have listed over at the website is what you're specifically looking for is the chemical makeup. The chemical composition.
Well, now we have technology that we can see, like this strain has X, Y, and Z in it, and it's much more than that. But what's important and interesting to me is how all of those cannabinoids all interact together to create a high. It's almost like a complex recipe where you sprinkle a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and it all together creates this gourmet meal. Well, but in this case, it's a feeling,
right?
And that's
an effect.
An effect, exactly. And so the smells of the terpenes combined with the other cannabinoids really create a specific effect that
Well, one of the things I found
cannot be defined by indica or sativa. It's
sure,
and you can get similar highs from both different supposed types of plant look. So, for example, if you had a sativa, sorry to cut you off there, RG, but if you had a sativa flower and then you had a indica flower, and both of them could give you similar highs, but again, to define it by sativa will only be an uppity high, and indica will only be a low couch lock high, or it's too limited.
Professor G.
Go for it. Sorry. Cutting you off. My bad.
All right. So one of the things I found interesting in the story, which, by the way, is I think it's the Portland Mercury News is where we found this. But
right.
In there, it makes mention that, we hear about the cannabinoids like THC and CBD, but there's over 100 or almost 100 other ones that have been identified.
That's right.
And so it's this huge melting pot of possibilities, these melting pot of combinations that can kind of go into creating this. But then also something else that they mentioned that I thought was kind of cool is before, I think people have associated like the tannins to be more of associated with like the sensory inputs of the strain, such as the aroma or the flavor or that type of deal there. But there's actually evidence to start to suggest that also plays a role in the overall psychedelic effects of the plant too.
It does.
So super interesting information. I highly recommend everybody.
And so here's one other thing that we can talk about is that now it's a matter of educating the public, and the customer can come in with an idea of, hey, like, I would like to look at a strain, and the strain could maybe have these particular properties to it. Now I can actually home in on the results that I want to get from the medicine or from the cannabis itself. So that's what I think is so awesome about it, is that you'll get these. There's so many awesome strains that are out there that have different properties to them, and you can kind of find and get very specific with what you're trying to address. So, for example, if it's muscular dystrophy or seizures or something like that, you can get specific, very, very specific. And I think that's awesome. So it's public getting the knowledge.
But it's specifically on that. Do you really, do you believe that the public is going to adopt a system that is any more complex than indica sativa hybrid? You know what I mean? In mass. And I think that's one of the downsides to it is, number one, it's so ingrained into the culture as it is right now. That's what everybody grew up with. Again, it's as old as pot itself.
Here's what's going to happen.
Now all of a sudden there's 100 different possibilities, and I want a da-da-da-da-da crossed with 15 other things to get the exact spec that I'm looking for. How do we reasonably distill that down into something that's consumable? You're
gonna get okay. So look at cigarettes, right?
Sure.
So you have Camel's got a whole bunch of different types. They have the Turkish Royal, they have the Turkish Gold,
right?
And then all the
they're all selling tobacco.
In the 99s. So they have tobacco in different blends.
Sure.
I think what will happen is that you'll see that you're going to get a indica, and it's going to have the indica traits, so if you will, those specific traits that people associate with an indica plant. And then you're going to get the same thing with sativa, and you're going to get the same thing with hybrid. So you'll get a middle high, you'll get a left high, and a right high.
That analogy is interesting, though, because also what you find in the cigarettes, in the tobacco market, is the distinction in brands. In cigarettes, obviously, it's by flavor or whatever. Like you have, obviously a Camel does taste different than a Marlboro. Which
definitely.
You have your Lucky Strikes, you've got your Cloves. You know what I mean? All these different
completely
things.
Different, right?
So maybe we'll see manufacturers taking specialties and specific combinations of the cannabinoids.
Yeah, and then you're going to get the microbrew type of scenario where you're going to get these smaller guys, and they're really working on their strains, and they're really working on the genetics to give you very specific things, and they'll have a line of products that you'll be able to choose from. And I think that's awesome. It's incredible. And the more research that we do, the more information that we get, the more information that the public's going to get, and then they'll be able to differentiate between one strain and another strain, and what's really going to do what they need it to do for them. So it's good stuff.
Good stuff on
it's
that.
really good stuff.
Yeah, no, I like that.
I think it's a good thing to people will research. Take this article and then go out and start to research about terpenes, start to research about things, CBN, CBD, THC, and all the like, and then you'll start to see how those effects manifest on the body.
Right. Awesome. All right. Cool. Again, for more information, everybody, you can head on over to thecontactbuzz.com. We've got all the stories linked up over there. We'll have show notes on this particular episode as well, so there's links down in the description below. But obviously, we encourage you to head over there and click through to the original article. We barely grazed the surface on all these things, so there's tons more information to glean from that. What's next? What's next there, Big G?
Well, I think why don't we do something fun?
All right, I like fun.
Let's do something fun.
How about this story from High Times? And it's not really a story; it's more of an ongoing thing. But high horoscopes.
I like the horoscopes.
If you're into the Zodiac, and that's your thing here.
Sometimes they're so eerily accurate. Right?
Sure.
Sometimes it's just like.
Right.
Wait a minute. How did you know?
Well,
the stars told you. What?
You know me. I'm not a big horoscope Zodiac.
I know.
Like I'm very much grounded in the real life.
So that's why it's fun,
day.
RJ. That's why it's fun.
But even I read some of this stuff and I understand like there's a scientific way to word things and so on and so forth so that they apply to the most like I deal with words for a living. I kind of understand. I have all the best words.
Okay, wordsmith.
Sure. But like still, whoever does this, like they get really, really good at it. And it's kind of scary even to
all right. Well,
to somebody like
tell me a story.
All right.
What's the horoscope?
So
what am I looking at?
I put on the site here, obviously, if you guys want to link through. Now, High Times does one of these every single month.
Okay.
But I put on our page here yours and mine. I'm gonna go ahead and read through those real fast. I'm gonna put those up on the screen, full screen here, real fast.
Am I winning the lottery?
No, but I will be able to tell you what your strain preference is.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's do it.
All right. So we'll start with me. I'm a Taurus, and so this is for October. Again, you can go check this out anytime. I'm sure they're gonna keep going.
All right.
The watermark on your self-obsessive tendencies is well into the red zone.
Whoa.
It's not that introspection isn't warranted. You're very busy helping others and taking stock of your life.
Okay.
But almost everything that isn't directly related to your passion project is being ignored. Understandably, part of what makes a Taurus so formidable, that's right, is their single-mindedness, a.k.a. stubbornness. But the ship needs to be kept in balance.
That's true.
Presently, you have tipped so far starboard, you have confused the sky for water and are in danger of drowning everyone on board. Pull back. Write yourself. Listen more. Talk less. Remember that you feed off of people so if they don't hold your attention, or remember that you feed off of people, so if they don't hold your attention, practice some patience and you will find your interest slowly returning.
You're fucked, bro.
Jesus Christ. So it recommends Lost Sierra Night Nurse, which I've never heard of that strain before. So I'll have to see if I can find that. But
Lost Sierra Night Nurse.
Lost Sierra Night Nurse.
Huh. Maybe that's
but that almost
guerrilla grower in the high Sierras.
To me, that almost felt like a scolding from my mother, and
that's just your voice.
And I was just like
reading the words in your own head.
And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, it's kind of true though. Like I've been super obsessed with getting the show off the ground, and the studio kind of set up, and getting the website up, and all that good stuff. That
I thought this was your dream.
I'll bet you, if you asked my wife, she would point at this and go, "Yeah, this thing is like spot on." You know what I mean? And for that, baby, I'm sorry. I'll see you soon. But right, it's weirdly creepy.
All right.
Now there's nothing in there that's specific.
It's creepy.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are obsessed with a lot of stuff.
Give it to me. I'll take it.
All right. Let's.
I'll take the onslaught.
I'm gonna read yours now.
It is.
I'm gonna read yours now. Here we go.
Come on.
Okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. You did your best, didn't you?
Is that what it says right now? That's what
that's what it says. Yeah.
Don't beat myself.
Don't beat yourself up about it. You did your best, didn't you? Well, that's all you can ask for. At this point, it's up to the cosmos. Bullshit. You are in charge of your own destiny,
it's up
G.
to the moon.
Don't listen to
and
this
the
thing.
Stars.
No. Speaking of which, they aren't showing their cards, but they have said that what will come out in the wash may not be as it first appears.
Huh.
In fact, the true results might be understood or might not be understood until late in this month. So patience is key. Big on patience here.
It's the 20th, man.
It's like they're saying, hey, it's going to rain. Just be patient. And then when it rains, they're like, oh, I told you, it predicted rain. Whatever you do, don't act immediately upon hearing the final outcome. Take some time for the dust to settle. In the meantime, why don't you reflect on why this is so important to you in the first place? And your strain recommendation is Elmer's glue. For some reason, that's relevant.
Elmer's glue.
We're not going to post these. We're not going to post these every month, but I thought it was something that we definitely should give a shout out to. I don't know if anybody else has found this stuff, but it's great.
Thanks, High Times.
I thought it was great.
Great.
At the very least, it gives you a reason to broaden your strain selection. Yeah, I'll try whatever.
I'm gonna go try it.
Elmer's glue is.
I've had Elmer's
this
glue
month. Have you?
Yeah, it's like I think it's a cross between Gorilla Glue and something. We'll have to look it up.
Elmer Fudd.
Do Elmer's cheese. Hey,
Elmer's. There's an Elmer strain out there somewhere.
Elmer.
So right. There you go. That's that.
Cool. That was a good one. Funny.
I think
not
now
for you.
It's time.
Uh-oh.
We need Lawyer G. Lawyer G, please report to the courtroom. Lawyer G.
If I had a tie on, it would look better.
We'll have to work on that.
Legal brief.
Legal brief. We got some stories in the legal news.
In the legals of the news.
The news, which is legal.
That's legal. Okay. All right. Let me read you the headline.
Everybody's
of this story.
clear. We're in the legal brief, right?
Let me read you the headline of this story.
All right,
here we go.
All right.
As the top pot producing state in the nation,
right?
California could be on thin ice with the federal government.
Well, what else is new?
Well, there's actually a good reason. If you've read this article, you'll see that they bring up some pretty good points, and I think
there's some definite stuff to kind of take into consideration with this. It's not just like California is being stupid. It's like there's a serious problem that's going to have to be addressed, right?
Here, I think a lot of people immediately get this sort of like, what? The federal government's on my ass, and California says it's okay, so it should be okay. But let's.
I need a rabble.
Let's chill for a second and come to some reality here and go. Look, hey.
All right, bring us up to speed.
California grows a shit ton of cannabis. That's
the technical?
You can use shit ton.
How many shit tons?
It equals, I forgot how many actual tons it is, but it's a fucking lot.
We do know.
I think it's like 100 pounds times a shit ton. So you just multiply both shit ton times a shit ton, and then you get the real number. But
fortunately for everybody watching this,
RJ's got the real number.
LA
it's 11
Times,
million
LA
pounds
Times,
or some shit.
LA Times did the actual research here. And it says California produced at least 13.5 million pounds of marijuana last year. That is a lot. That is a lot of bud.
Pounds.
13.5 million pounds. More than 5 times more than 2.5 or 5 times more than the 2.5 million it consumed.
By the way,
we only smoke 2.5 million, but we're growing it. It's just like
because
everywhere.
a lot of it's exported. But hold on,
right, and that's the problem.
I point out one thing is that California, and I'm pointing the finger. I'm doing the Harrison Ford right now. I'm pointing the finger to tell you.
You got the G finger.
California produces a lot of stuff agriculturally and exports a lot of it all over the place. It's literally the growing monster on this side of the country, and we're producing a lot of food for the rest of the country. So it makes sense that cannabis being grown here, yes, we have the environment and we have the conditions, we have the sun exposure. So yes, we're gonna produce.
That's kind of how commercial agriculture works.
That's how it works.
You grow it where it's optimal and you move it around.
So some people are arguing that like, okay, well, and this is for people in the business, RJ and I talk about this all the time. It's that like, okay, well, if we're growing so many pounds a month, right, but there's this excess amount or floating around, these millions of pounds floating around in the market, that's only going to drive the price down for your growers, and that's going to cut into profit. That's going to cut in.
Right. How are you ever going to get any money back? It's got to go somewhere.
Right. Now, and there's another factor involved in what we were talking about recently too with this, in regards to this story, is that let's say all of this weight that's there. I mean, imagine now with the fires up north in Santa Rosa, that all that weight is gone. I mean, so many pounds were burned. I mean, so many grows were burned, legal and illegal,
Sure.
Which we're not condoning the illegal aspect of
Absolutely
it, but
not.
just imagine all that weight is gone. So I don't know how the prices are going to be affected moving forward, but it is a big problem as far as federally concerned, because now they're going, hey, you want to do your deal in your own state? Okay, fine. But all this other money that's crossing the border via these vans and Camrys and, people with like pounds and pounds and pounds in the trunk, and they're just like taking it over to New York, Tennessee, Kentucky.
Well, not even that far. I mean,
Vegas, Utah, Arizona.
Utah doesn't allow. But
they have a medical deal, I believe, but it's not recreational.
But
they didn't pass the last vote.
There lies the crux of the problem. Is like, we can't, as an industry, operate as every other industry would. You know what I mean? Like,
why shouldn't we? We should be able to operate with the
but we
same
can't
rules
because
and
of
same kind of guidelines.
The only reason we're able to get what we can, and we got a story coming up here next, kind of. Wisconsin's trying to take a different approach to it, but that's the problem. Is it's coming down to a state by state basis.
Right.
It's not legal in the federal ground. So if you're neighbored by a dry state, shall we call it, and even if you're trying to get through to Colorado or somewhere that does have it, you know what I mean? Like, no, that's illegal.
Or even Canada. Didn't Melissa Etheridge or somebody was so had some entanglement at the border of Canada. So yes, traveling with it has always been an issue. But more importantly, that we can expect some serious crackdowns, is what these guys are saying, if there's a continuation of the exporting in such large quantities, which now that's
one of the
big red
guys
flag.
that was interviewed for this article. It says state licensed growers are quote going to have to scale back and are quote on a painful downsizing curve, adding that some farmers are going to go out of business while others are preparing to reduce crops under the new legal system.
Yeah.
So on the upside, though, here we always like to bring a little positive spin to the news. From a consumer,
come on, bring it.
From a consumer standpoint, you're going from a situation where you had a fairly balanced supply and demand system to a system that is extremely slanted in favor of the consumer. There's going to be a huge amount of supply. You know what I mean? Even counting all the growers who go out of business, everything else, the ones that do survive are still going to have bills to pay and stuff like that. They're going to try to get as much as they can out of, what their capacity is. So supply is going to go up. Prices are going to come down. You know what I mean? Like, on the average, I think in California, we can look forward to a steep decline in the, at least, down to the per gram price, over the counter.
Right, that's what our friends in Oregon and Washington have been saying as well. But I was hoping that was going to be like this 2-year hump, where you'd have just demand, and it wouldn't matter what the supply, we'd go through it because you're going to get all that other out-of-state traffic coming into California, so they'll be able to also partake. So
well,
I would say there would be like a 1 to 2 year swing there.
Oh,
where
probably.
you're still going to the price will still kind of stay the same.
It's not going to be an overnight
because
thing.
people are also going to. I mean, you got to remember there's going to be taxes and fees and all these other things associated with it.
Right.
So I think the price is still going to be what the market is used to. It's just that profitability is going to start to dwindle as time goes by. But anyways, let's move forward. I don't want to. That's boo-hoo. That's just a normal progression of industry.
Sure,
But,
sure.
You know, I think as time goes by, then people in the industry can negotiate for better terms, and we could be like, hey, look, we've been doing good. Now you don't need to, like, basically fleece us.
Well, moving over,
right.
moving over a few state lines, quite a few state lines here. Heading over to Wisconsin, we got a story.
Queso.
Where was this out of? This
Beer.
was out of the freethoughtproject.com. And they were saying that Wisconsin moves to be the first state ever to nullify federal cannabis prohibition through legislation, which I think is one of those things where it's all in the details, is in the fine minutia.
Wait.
But
So you're telling me they're just making a law, but no one's voting on it. They're just
right. They're doing it at a legislative level where everybody else has done it at the ballot level. And I'm not a civics expert, so I'm not 100% sure on how exactly that does affect things. One of the things, just to mention it, we're working with a couple different advocates and things like that, so we'll actually have some people on in the next couple episodes that will be able to speak intelligently about the finer points of this type of thing. But the way I understand it is it's more of the government saying, yes, this is okay, than the people demanding it. And that makes all the difference in the world when you start talking about getting it closer to federal okay.
Let me tell you how I understand it, okay?
Lay it on me.
I'm going to lay it on you there.
Get
RJ.
real with us.
Getting real with you, okay? Here in California, I'm going to take California as the example. We're going to look at a bunch of different cities in California, okay, that are having major financial problems, okay? They're going bankrupt. They're not paying their bills. Roads aren't getting fixed, that kind of stuff, okay? So these cities now are starting to look at it and going, hey, well, the legislation and all that other stuff, sure, but it really comes down to the city approving it for you to get a state license. I mean, that's what it really boils down to. So if you get into a city and you're talking to them and you're going, look, I'm going to bring jobs, I'm going to bring tax money, and you know, these other things, that I'm renting a building that's not being used, and I'm bringing commerce in if there's an establishment where you can consume. So you have a lot of other benefits to the city where they're not seeing really any sort of revenues, in the near future. And it's like, well, look, this is safe to the public. It brings down crime, and it brings us income. So why wouldn't we do it? It doesn't make any sense. And so I think a lot of cities, and here we have a whole state that's not doing the greatest, and so they're like, hey, look, let's bring in jobs, let's be completely transparent with this, and now we can really create prosperity. And I think that's awesome. Very, very cool. I was ranting. I apologize. That's my bad rant.
That's what it's all about. Get G's 2 cents.
I just like what this lady said. Here's what she quoted. Rep Melissa Sargent. She goes, this bill is so much more than legalizing marijuana. It's about legalizing opportunity and prosperity. The state budget was due 2 weeks ago, and Wisconsin simply can't afford to wait any longer. We deserve a real plan to create new jobs and stimulate our lagging economy, and that's what this bill is.
Yeah, absolutely. And again,
it's as simple as that. I mean,
it's a step forward. It's a step forward for the industry.
Yeah, and how many states right now are trying to, boost revenue, and it's not going to come from the federal government.
Cities, counties, everybody.
Right.
But they'll come and knock on the door for some more tax money when we've got perfectly good solutions just lying around waiting to be utilized.
That's a completely different topic. I mean, I don't want to get into the taxes part of it, because then I get all fired up, because it's like, oh my gosh. It's by the square footage of your canopy, and it's just like on top of all these other taxes, and then on top of you can't write it off your.
And that's don't
get me started on the legal brief,
legal
negative,
G's.
the dark side of it. I love that music.
It's like that Law and Order sound drop. It's like dun dun.
I just love that music.
All right, so on to the next story here in the legal brief. Okay, I'll stop playing with that.
Okay, sorry, my neck.
Here we go. All right.
Sciatic nerve.
So, cannabis hot sauce in hot water. And for those of you watching and not listening, I do have a picture of this somewhere. I don't know what happened to it. It was
Tapatio
right here,
Foods, bro.
You'll have to just head over to the website and scope it out over there, the contactbuzz.com.
You know the guy with the hat.
Sure. He's
got the hat. He's got the full garb, white.
Right.
Tapatio spilled right on his front of his suit.
Well, hold on. What we're talking about is there's a company called Trapatio, which is a chili sauce, and they basically ripped off. Allegedly ripped off, because I don't think the court case has been settled, but they allegedly ripped off the label and the look of Tapatio, which is a really well obviously known brand of hot chili sauce.
Do they even have like a little wood cap on the top of the bottle? Or?
I encourage you to go over to the website and check it out to look at the pictures side by side. But it is. I mean, their name, they do it a little bit more edgy or whatever, but the main character, the sombrero character, like it looks just like it, like when you see the bottle on the shelf. But the reason I wanted to throw this into the into the mix is, like, I don't know how you see this, but it feels like that was for a long time just the go-to because it was a black market. Like nobody was like really policing anything or able to, go after, like nobody knew who did what or whatever. But like from a guerrilla marketing standpoint, people would just take existing products and
that's the easy way out, right?
The weed version of Oreos, Weedios.
Everybody does that.
Right. But now that the industry's growing up, like people have to come up with their own IP. You know what I mean? Like you can't do that anymore.
But see, here's the thing: spelling, right, is so specific. So when you're playing off words, or you're playing off different things. I mean, look at our show, the Contact Buzz. When you're playing off things, there's room to be creative, and you can change letters around.
Right.
Look at Epic Environments, and we have the two E's reversed.
And I want to clarify that it's not a copyright lawsuit; it's a trademark lawsuit.
Yeah, the image is basically the same dude.
It wasn't that they called it Trapatio. It was that they called it Trapatio, put it in the same bottle with a white label with a dude with a sombrero on the front of it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I don't think I would let him go. I hate to judge, but I would judge no.
That's
get a little more
legal
creative.
G says no.
Yeah, get a little bit more creative because hey, basically when it comes down to it, you're sort of ripping them off. And
right.
So if you don't like getting ripped off, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people ripping each other off all the time. And sampling is basically ripping off. But man, when you add the right mix of this and that, cool, you can come up with something new. But if you're outright just jacking them, then no, I'm not gonna go with it. No. I'd have to say no. I vote negative on that one.
That's a big negatory.
That's a big negative.
All right, are we done with?
We're done with that. We're done with that.
Legal? Are we done with legal brief?
We're done with the legal brief.
Cool. We're done with that.
It wasn't that brief, but it was legal.
It was very legal.
I don't think so.
So we're gonna hop into something that I thought was kind of interesting. This was.
It is interesting.
Yeah,
RJ.
I didn't. Wait. Why did you sound so?
It is interesting because here's the thing. Well, sometimes I'm talking to you.
RJ.
Your next story. Why don't you get it to us and explain it to us?
Well. Now you kind of messed up my flow.
I fucked it up. I'm sorry.
So
I fucked your flow up.
Cut. Back to one. No. Black cannabis. Right now. You're a dork. Black cannabis.
Why's it got to be black?
It's not though. That's the point. It's not. But like I've heard of it before, like these really dark black, but they were kind of like back.
Are they super long
No,
colas?
Are
they huge,
it was
long,
back in
massive colas?
Dude, can I? It was back in the olden days. When I was smoking with my buddies and stuff like that. And it was like the legendary.
Oh, your olden days,
my
which was
olden
only
days.
like 10 years ago.
Shut up. But it was like this legendary thing that just got kind of mentioned once or twice, as though it was like this fucking unicorn that was out there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And like I never gave it much thought until I saw this story. From I think it's Herb.co's Facebook page. It was this video. It's like, have you heard of? I was like, yes, I have heard of black cannabis, and so I had to watch it. But they do this whole article where they go into what it is and where it comes from and everything else. And there's actually a pretty cool little reason that you do get these really super dark. They're purple. They're not black.
I didn't read the article. Let me guess. It has to do with climate and environment, right?
Hey, look at the expert grower in action over there, deducing the obvious. Yes, obviously, there's a strain element to it. Like you obviously want to start with something, but it's a combination of that coupled with
it's cold
pH in the soil.
You're right.
And weather, because that purple part, for those of us that don't know, the purple part is kind of like a natural antifreeze to the plant. So when you grow the plant in a cooler environment, it produces more of that purple.
Calyphylyl or
right. And
cryo.
I think the story also mentioned
something.
that you get it in sunnier climates as well, because it also works as like a sunblock. But it's the plant's own.
Anthocyanins or anthocyanins.
Sure, if you say so.
Anthocyanins.
I wasn't even going to try to pronounce that.
I'm probably getting it wrong, too.
But yeah, you can head over to the website, click through on that if you want to learn more about it. There's a complete list also of strains, specific. Like there's one that's obvious. I think it's called The Black. But there's some other ones, all with black in the title, that if you wanted to look for this or ask for it at your local dispensary or whatever,
and you know what this is?
Check that out.
I think it's interesting too is that some of my grow buddies out there, we've had those crops where we had the same clones, right? But our green rooms were running at different temps, and one guy would get more perps than the other guy. And they were going, what's going on? I mean, what's the deal? And the guy that had the cooler room was the guy with the more perps.
More perps.
Anyways, so I think it's interesting, the environment. So it's got to be pretty darn cold,
right,
to be getting that dark, I would assume.
Yeah.
But anyways.
All right, so moving along. Dr. G to the emergency room. Dr. G to the emergency room. Our next story is...
I need to button up my shirt again?
You get your lab coat and your stethoscope. No probes, please.
Cough for me.
No, I'm not going to do that. This story came to us from Weed News. It's part of our 420 Health segment. And it is a public service announcement on... the dangers of dabbing. Now, we all know dabbing is a plague on society, but we're not talking about that kind of
dabbing. The dance, for sure, is.
Right.
My kid's running around the whole house dabbing all the time.
Dab on them haters. Dab on Jake Paul.
Stop doing that! What? I'm dabbing.
Just dab. Just dab away.
Dabbing all the time. Dabbing all the time. All right. No. We're talking about dabbing cannabis.
Right.
Or
and specifically
dabbing.
The act of dabbing.
Right.
Not the, I guess, the concentrates themselves, although there is some concern until regulation gets in place that you don't really know what's in your concentrates. But that's another story we'll get into. This is more about the actual preparation of and, I guess, execution of the dab?
Well, right. And essentially, when you heat something up past a certain point, things change. That's a simple way of putting. When you have 750 degrees or higher, 900 degrees, the chemical composition of whatever is in your dab or glue or resin or butter or whatever you want to call it, your concentrate, turns into a carcinogen. the study's interesting because they're specifically saying benzene is one of the big ones and
right.
a well-known carcinogen, but there's more.
So potentially cancer-causing chemicals are released when the oil is heated above 750, and then benzene, which is a known carcinogen, is emitted when it's over 932. So in preparation for this story, we actually had a conversation with our undisclosed dabbing expert
Nacho Libre
on the channel here. And he was talking to us about because neither of us actually are heavy dabbers, right? I mean,
Nope.
You don't do it on the reg, so
Nope.
What he was
I don't have a rig, bro.
what he was kind of telling us was about
I don't have a rig.
how it's all
My
about.
torch.
Jeez,
I'm heating up my nail, man. Sorry,
we're not that kind of channel, G. We're not that kind of channel.
I took it way too far. My bad. Stop me sooner next time.
Nothing goes over my head. I would catch it. But really what it's talking about is timing how long you're heating up the bowl. When you're doing group sesh, smoke circle or whatever, and
Sure.
it's passing it around, people are just retorching. It's getting that bowl to the proper temperature. And remember, like a lot of your vaporizers, your volcanoes and stuff like that, like my volcano, 450.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to.
And you're left with that like nice brown toasty.
Sure, nice and toasty.
You
like
roll
you don't,
that into a little cigarette.
Yeah, you don't have to heat it up to 1 billion degrees. It's not a e-cigarette where you're trying to blow out the biggest like smoke cloud. Like
Right.
Cannabis is supposed to be a healthy thing to partake in. Like the cannabis lifestyle is not a lifestyle of binge and carcinogens and so on and so forth. Like, you know what I mean? You want to stay away from that. You want to be active. You want to be able to, maintain a lifestyle around it.
You don't want to just melt into the couch.
Yeah, you don't want to go to your doctor one day and he says, "Hey, sorry, kid, you got the black lung," and you're like, "But I never smoked a cigarette in my life." Oh well,
You've been dabbing straight every day, 5 times.
Don't say dab.
Every other hour. Yeah. You know what? Don't say dab. My bad. But yeah, you have the concentrated quantities of pesticides and fungicides that could be in the plant. So again, take all that into consideration, and you can see now that dabbing could be an issue for some people, or if it's low quality, or you have unscrupulous growers, things of that nature, and now it's an issue. So this is, I think, going to sort out as time goes by, because
regulations
of course,
come into play. Testing becomes more.
Everything will have to be tested, and
right.
everything will be clean. If not, it's going to just get burned up.
Right. So you don't necessarily have to worry about that side of it, but in the house, because you're in control of that part of it. Like that's one thing.
Get a thermometer or get a
timer.
Right.
Thermometer and a timer. And understand that you're basically conducting a science experiment, and you should treat it as such.
If it's white hot, it's too hot. Okay.
Right. Learn your Kelvin scale. Moving on with the health news.
You said Kelvin.
If you prefer to burn your dabs at 950 and you're going to eventually end up with some sort of chronic illness from doing that.
Just like weird glaze in the inside of your lungs.
I don't understand what happened. Here's 5 reasons to cure chronic illness with cannabis-infused tea. Now, for the noobs in the audience, G, run us through like an infusion of cannabis is what?
That's when you're going to put it into something. You're infusing it into something. So like butter, oil, alcohol. Let's say you want to make a tincture, or let's say a lip balm. It can be infused into many, many different things. But it's a way for it to become metabolizable. It's a way for you to be able to.
So it's kind of like
to ingest it or to take it in on the skin or something of that.
When
nature.
you're seeping tea, you're really infusing the water with the tea, anyways.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it kind of goes.
But
hand
now
in
you
hand.
get the beneficial properties of cannabis in a tea, and so it's been proven for millennia. I mean, right?
Millennia.
Chinese, the Egyptians, you name it. Maybe the people before in that city that's 200,000 years old in Africa or whatever.
The article comes to us from civilized.life, which is a pretty cool blog. But they list several of the reasons.
I like their picture too. It's nice.
Meet Jeff. I don't know who Jeff is. Cannabis, digestive health, stabilizing mood, which I think
relieves
is,
pain across the body.
Right.
And when you're ingesting it inside, via the intestines or the stomach or whatnot, you're going to get a longer, more mellow, long-lasting high. If actually you don't really get high with the tea, it's more.
Well, it's more of the edible relaxation effect kind of situation.
Versus if you were to smoke it, it would be over quicker.
Well, and
so I think
what's often overlooked
pain,
when people think, especially people outside of the community,
right,
think of marijuana and different things along those lines. They particularly think of smoking it. You know what I mean? Because that's been the pop culture reference forever and ever.
Roll a joint or something.
Right, but realistically, like somebody with a chronic illness, like they may not be able to smoke. You know what I mean? Like they may have to utilize an infused kind of situation, or a concentration oil to mix into their food or whatever it is.
Right. You grind some up, and you can make a little tea bag. You steep it, and you're good to go. And you have something that can relieve the pain for an extended period of time with no side effects. You're not going to have issues, and it's not going to make you like drunk or silly or anything like that. I think that's beneficial for a lot of people out there. I mean, and that's just one. Reducing inflammation is another, as well as it has neuroprotective, I mispronounced that. Neuroprotective effects.
You're Dr. G. So, you're supposed to know these words, these big words, these multiple syllable words.
My bad.
All right.
Thanks for pointing that out, by the way, RJ.
That is our health segments.
One other thing, it helps stabilize mood.
True.
Which could be, if you got someone who's very cranky all the time, it could help to relax them, almost like a chamomile sort of an effect. And it helps with digestion. So I just wanted to point those other things out. Like I, for example, have digestive issues. Sometimes, you drink a little milk when you're not supposed to.
Yes, he does.
And
yes, he does.
I get
he has digestive
the gurgly wurglies.
Some bubble gut.
Bubble gut, exactly. So to spare everybody the gaseous anomalies that are created afterwards, it could help to
it's a biohazard.
Ease the digestion. So there you have it. Cannabis tea, cannabis infused tea has medical properties to it and has been used for a very, very long time. And it's a safe and easy way for people out there who want to be able to try cannabis and not have it affect you in such a harsh and maybe concentrated way. So, I wouldn't say you've never done it for the first time. You're going to go out and do a dab. I'm going to recommend against it. Trying tea would probably be the first way to go, or maybe a vape pen or something like that, and ease yourself into it.
I think that's
there you have it.
I think that's the show for the day.
There you have it.
That's right.
So just
latest
once
news,
again, who would you smoke with?
That's right.
If
our
you
question
could
of the
smoke
day.
With anybody. Question of the week.
Question of the week.
I say, who would I smoke with, dead or alive, would be Tesla.
And I was going with Musk.
Musk. All right.
Talking about some of the Hyperloops.
All right. So make
sure you tweet that to us.
We talked about indica sativa.
That's right.
And it's more of a plant thing, describing the plant on the outside.
Versus the actual effects of it. It's more the genetics.
Right. And then we did the horoscope, so it looks like you bad, me good.
Whoa.
It didn't sound too good for you, I don't think.
Well.
We got in the legal stuff was pretty cool, but
right.
We could be on thin ice if we keep exporting all that stuff.
I think we're going to be all right.
You think we're going to be good?
Yeah.
We're going to just use it all up.
Stoners are very ingenious people.
They're going to make it
they're good problem solvers.
They're going to dab the crap out of that.
And remember, keep your dabbing under 750. Get yourself some proper tools. Make sure you're participating in a...
Don't forget about Wisconsin. Just changing the rules without even voting.
Oh, those rebels. The rebels.
They know what's up, man. They want to make it more prosperous. And what about the tea?
Oh, yeah. They're gonna,
some
refreshing infused iced tea, I think, is something I'd like to give a try. I'll have to try that out on our next episode of Canna Connoisseur.
Canna Cocktails. Can of connoisseurs.
Remember, everybody, you can find more information on everything we talked about today, along with tons of other stuff that we just can't fit into the episode.
Hey, wait! Did you forget the black
That's
cannabis?
right, the black cannabis.
Yeah. So what I think
marijuana?
is interesting about it is that for humans, if they're in a concentrated area, they tend to get darker because of the sun and the heat, right? And their skin naturally changes.
Sure, the
with
melanin.
Cannabis, if it's in the cold, it tends to get darker, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, biology in action right there. That's how it works.
There you go.
So as I was saying, you can find out more on all that at www.thecontactbuzz.com. Till next time, I'm RJ.
I'm Mr. G.
And we are The Contact Buzz. We'll see you around.